I'm on this job doing a full retile of this shower. Kind of a small shower actually. I think it's not even 4 foot. 1, 2, 3. It's about 3.5 feet by about 2.5 feet. Kind of a small shower. Originally, I wanted to get rid of this and build the wall right here instead of having it here. Take the shower out to this size. These, what I call a box, sometimes they're only there because these fake shower pans are finite. There are certain sizes of those, and so that's the parameter they have to work with. So they'll just put a box in there, and it doesn't serve any purpose. In this case, it could be ductwork. I don't know, because I know they have a vent up there. So there could be ductwork, could be plumbing, all kinds of stuff back there. But 7 times out of 10, it's a fake box, and I get rid of that and make the shower bigger, in which case I wouldn't have to do that. But that's what I wanted to do, and they declined. That would give you an extra, probably almost 3 square feet of room by the time the curb bumped out to the end of the wall there. So this FYI for all you guys. So this is how I got the call that they have a lot of wood rot going on here, and you can see where the water has gotten to the level above the wood, and it's rotted out some of the sheetrock. That's because water has gotten outside or inside, and they have done everything they can running caulking. There's caulking clearly all around, outside, the bottom, and the inside. And so where does the water emanate from to where it's rotting out this wood? It took years for it to get to this point. More than likely it came from inside. I've said this in other videos, and I'm going to reiterate it again because I think it's worth talking about. On a tub, and this is no different than what I was just showing you, there's a lip, and that lip goes up about 1 inch or so. And so on that lip, that's what you use to anchor the tub to the studs. You put a screw through that lip. It's plastic, same as this is, fiberglass, whatever. So that lip sets right up there. What most contractors do is they'll set their sheetrock or wallboard, whatever they use, on top of the edge. And when they do that, and water gets behind the grout, in this case, or even caulking, because caulking will visit here, and it gets behind there, then it hits the sheetrock behind there. It saturates the sheetrock time and time and time and again, and eventually it destroys your wood down here at the bottom. What they're supposed to do is at the top of that lip, put your wallboard on top of that, and then have your tile overlap that, and then run your caulking. So even if water gets back there, it's innocuous, it doesn't hurt anything. So my take on it is the same thing has happened here. As you can clearly see, there's grout that has popped out of the joint, and there's a clear indication. Ooh, look at that. Sorry, everything was sideways. So water has definitely gotten up inside of there over the years and has saturated the wallboard, which is sheetrock right behind it. And once it's saturated, it can't go anywhere else. Wicking action guarantees that it's rotted this wood. So the only way to rectify that, other than Band-Aids, and you could put Band-Aids on here. I'm not telling you that every job like this requires a complete tear out, but I give options all the time. And so there is a possibility of putting Band-Aids on this all day long and say, okay, well, let me run some more caulking up here, and that doesn't work, then I'll run some more. And if that doesn't work, and you can chase a problem, but eventually, and this drain is offset, which is weird. And I think that's part and parcel to the problem too, because if any water builds up in this area, I can tell the drain has been clogged up with gunk, and I'll show you that as soon as I take the cap off. When water builds up over here, it's going to have an easy way to get up and through there. And it's just it's an odd drain for one of these plastic pans. If they're going to do something offset in the corner, it should have been offset over there, where it can't do, well, it would still do the damage eventually, but it's also a thin pan, which I'm just realizing now. I mean, this is 3/4 of an inch at best. And, you know, I know why, because it slopes down to the drain and then it becomes 2 inches. But it should have been, I don't know. I don't like these pans, and so I've got really nothing good to say about them. And rectifying it after the fact is kind of a mood issue, so I'm not going to bother with all that. Anyway, the point being is, can they salvage this? Yes, if they had other tile that I could come in here with, I could take off this bottom row of tile, pull this pan out, put a proper pan in, a curb and all that stuff, and just do the shower floor area and leave all this stuff intact if they have this matching tile, but they don't, and you'll never find it 6 months to a year out. It'll never happen. So on those few occasions where I've had customers who have had matching tile, yes, it's very easy to do. And that's about it. I'm going back over here with porcelain tile, and it's probably going to be in the same type of straight pattern. There's no fancy stuff. I don't think I'm doing a niche. I don't recall if I'm doing a niche or not. They got a lot of bullnose. So the bullnose will go on the outside portion of the shower. The same as you see this. This is called mud cap, not to be mistaken with bullnose. Bullnose is flat. Mud cap wraps around. So I know there's 2 layers of sheetrock or wallboard or whatever they used. And then a bullnose is flat. And it'll just wrap around the same way we have it now. Basically, we're just changing out a darker color for a lighter color, and then we're going to have a real shower pan. Hexagon. Uh-oh. So they bought a matching hexagon mosaic tile that I'll be using for the shower floor. That's about it. That's all I can say about this. And the tear out is finished. It to you is like 2 seconds, but this probably took about a little less than an hour. I don't know, I was taking my time a little bit today because I'm relegated to my time and what I can do. Usually day 1 I'm not doing the build back, I'm just doing the tear out, going to pick up materials, dropping that off, running here, running there. The issue I have was a fake pan. I don't like fake pans, never have, never will. Usually because, as you can see, all this crud on here is caked on. Like, you can bleach all this stuff all day long and it's not coming off, it's not going anywhere. I'll turn off the fan. Okay, you can hear me better because I turned off the fan. This is caked on, and I see this time and time and again. It just gets worse and worse and spreads out, and you'll never get that out. Or there'll be a little lineal crack, a very, very thin hairline crack, which will allow water to get through downstairs, and then people call about having a leaky shower, and that's usually the reason why. In this case, you remember that little trough that was going up? That's actually supposed to work in reverse. If water gets into the back, it's supposed to be able to channel itself out, because this is recessed from above the top level. It's supposed to channel out. And that would be great if they didn't set their wallboard. You can clearly see this is the wallboard portion, and then this last part is the tile portion. So if they didn't set their wallboard on the edge, then any water that got in there would allow itself to channel out. But instead, it wicked up the wallboard, which is why I say put it on the top, on the lip of the tub, or in this case of the shower. The wallboard should sit here and the tile should overlap. Once you do that, then you have a gap, and that gap allows water to then channel. Yeah. Sometimes I go into more explanation that is needed because some people don't know this stuff. There's another channel there. But again, you know, setting the wallboard on top of the edge of the tub, or in this case a shower, is a no-no. No, don't do that. But contractors do it time and time and time and time and again. Time and time and again. Time and time and again. And that's why there's rust, and that's why there was water, and that's why the wood rotted through. That's the whole reason that all happened. And if they had not caught it earlier, if it hadn't rusted through, if it had not ruined the wood, if it had instead, see how it's ruined the 2x4 already? If instead it ruined the wallboard and it got eventually onto that wood and then down to the wood below, they would have had a leak downstairs. So, I don't know, it's kind of a mixed blessing that they're able to get rotted wood here and figure this out early, but this is exactly why I had to go one. If I were only doing the pan, I got to go one tile up because I got to take out all this material and the shower pan itself, and I can't do it without taking out at least that tile up. So that's the end of that story. The rest of it is just the build back process, which will begin. Oh, by the way, empty box. I'm not clairvoyant, I swear I'm not. But as I said, 7 times out of 10, that's exactly what you have is an empty box. And I think I've even managed to do, I think I either took most of this off one time and used this as a bench because it was already almost preformed anyway, and I just had to put a top on it and kind of shore it up a little bit. I've also used this as a closet, not a closet, how would you call it? So I think about 4 foot up, I just kind of put some studs across that, built out a top for it, tiled the top, and then put it on hinges so you could have towels and stuff inside of there, because a shower is never going to reach over there in that particular instance. But anyway, I make use of it when I can, and if I was allowed to, I would get rid of all this and make this another 4 or 5 square feet larger, but that's just me. But I wanted to show you something. This is silicone. This is the Band-Aid that I was telling you about. It was just pushed all inside there and pushed all inside there because they thought water was coming outside of the shower by virtue of here, which maybe some of it did, but 90% of it was doing exactly what I said. It was just wicking through all the wallboard material, which is now since soft. It's even a little moist and rusted out and all that stuff. But you can Band-Aid this all day long, but it's like putting, I don't know, it's like putting a Band-Aid where surgery is needed, and that's what we're doing. Those of you that watch my channel for any length of time know that I don't do pre-slopes. I don't believe in them, and I'm not going to go through the reasons why. You can check my channel for all the videos that I've made concerning pre-slopes. However, on this particular shower I am doing a pre-slope because I have a particular drain, a new drain, not this one, but I have a new drain that I'm going to feature on another video. I couldn't do it on here for a lot of reasons that I'm not going to enumerate, but I wasn't able to put that drain in here. It's a brand new type of newfangled drain that you'll never believe. It's fantastic. I love it, and I love it for one particular reason. There's probably 4, maybe 5 different reasons this guy invented it, but one reason alone makes me love that drain. With that drain in particular, I cannot not do a pre-slope. I must do a pre-slope, and I thought I was going to do that drain here, but I'm not going to be able to, so it's already set up to do a pre-slope. What I mean by that, normally when I set my drain, sorry about the sideways angle, you see that bottom flange there has a taper, and because there's a taper there, I always taper out my wood, but also underneath there's the 4 bolts that hold the bottom flange in place, top locking flange as it were, in place, and those 4 bolts are recessed down about 3/4 of an inch. So as it stands now, I don't have it the way I normally have it with the bottom flange flush to the floor. The way I have it now is it's raised by 3/4 of an inch, and because it's raised 3/4 of an inch, that will be my end point. And this is basically a tub to shower conversion. It's not quite as long as a tub, but it's about 4 foot long. So I have 3 foot from here to where the drain is, and as you can see, I have a couple levels on here. My floor is already kind of pitched in that direction, so I'm not going to make a really profound pre-slope. And the process of actually doing the pre-slope I'm going to get started on. And what it amounts to, I'm not going to film the whole thing. A lot of people do pre-slopes, and you can go to their videos and watch how it's done. But basically you got tar paper, and the tar paper specifically is just not let the moisture get into your plywood, your subsurface. If it was a concrete slab, it wouldn't be a big issue. You could just do some slurry mix, slurry meaning thin set, really kind of runny, and then you put your pre-slope material on top of that. But anyway, getting back to what I'm doing here is going to be tar paper. I'm going to staple it down, and then I have some wire mesh that I'm going to put on top of that. The wire mesh gives it strength because, again, this is an inch, maybe 1.25 inches at best, and it's going to taper down to that 3/4 of an inch down there. So you need that wire mesh to give it some strength. Once that's dry, which will be tomorrow, then I can put my shower pan liner on here and actually do the slope. Which is another reason that I don't necessarily like doing pre-slopes, because it would take some more time. This has to dry overnight. There is a quickcrete type of sand mix that sets up probably in about 30 or 40 minutes. But if you're not learned with it, it dries up very quickly. It starts drying in about 10 minutes. And if you don't do it exactly right, then you're SOL. So you got to do it over again. In order not to make that mistake, I'm using a sand topping mix, but I'm using a stronger, richer sand topping mix, meaning that it's probably about 3-to-1 as opposed to a 4-to-1 type of mix. And so that alone will give it strength. So I'll show it after it's done. I'll probably show the tar paper and then the wire mesh and all that stuff, and then I'll do my screeding of my mortar down here. And then I have about maybe 4 inches that I have to screed down in this direction so that I have a proper pre-pitch going all the way around. Another reason I don't like doing them is because it takes up that much more room. Usually on the inside of the curb, by the time I'm done doing my mortar bed, I only have maybe 2.5 inches if I'm lucky of room down here on just a normal bed. But a pre-pitch is now going to give me a less girthy shower pan material, as it were. So I'm going to have less of this girth of this material once my curb is done and all that stuff. That's another reason why I don't like doing them, because I want as much wallboard on the inside of my curb as possible. And so I'm deducting that just by virtue of doing this pre-pitch, but I'm going to get started. So this is a process that you want to go through, and basically it's just, like I said, tar paper, staple down all the tar paper, and then staple down the mesh on top of the tar paper. Try and get it as close up to the drain neck as you can. So the next step is to screed out the mortar. Again, going from this section, you might use a screed board. Screed board can be anything. It can be a 3-foot level. This is about, I think this is about right at 3 foot, but it could be a 2-foot level for that matter. It could be a piece of 2x4, it could be anything. And you just kind of push it back and forth and everything. Keep on checking your pitch, make sure that everything's flat and all that stuff, offset that way, and go down to here, and then you're going to have to do a little bit of manipulating on that back, or I'm going to have to do a little bit of manipulating on the back to get that kind of, you know, pitch down and everything. And then I go away, and then tomorrow I'll put a fan on this overnight, and tomorrow I'll come back and I'll put the pan liner on top of that pre-pitch, and it'll go right up to the edge of the flange here. And then this ridge will get some caulking. I'll put my pan liner on top of it, I'll put my top locking flange on, and then I'll pour my mortar pan. And then I'm stuck again for a second day until that dries. I have the sun shining on this right now, but this is a finished pre-slope, and it is going to dry overnight. See if I can get in the way of the sun. So it's going to dry overnight. It's flush with the flange right here where the flange was. I have the holes that eventually the top locking flange is going to go into. I have those covered up, and so they don't get sandy and all that stuff. And so you can see there's obviously more mortar buildup toward the back over there, and then you see on the wood where it kind of slopes down and slopes down and slopes down. And then you have different size levels, which I don't have handy right now, but you got a little foot level that you're going to put in the corners, make sure you have proper slope, little torpedo level on the back, and then a couple of 2-foot levels, and you're going to screed with the levels to make sure that there's no dips or anything. This is as smooth as, you know, you really need to make it. Even if it wasn't perfect, it doesn't really matter as long as the slope is going on. But that's what a pre-slope is all about. And if you want to do one, it's relatively easy. You put, as I already showed, you put all the material in there, screed it down, make sure everything's flush at the drain, and you're good to go. Until the next day, I'm going to put a fan on this, and I will be back tomorrow. So this is the following day with the fan on it 24/7. Very, very solid and very, very smooth transition going up to the drain edge. So yeah, this is what a pre-slope is. Those of you who have watched me for any length of time know that I don't believe in pre-slopes, so you'll probably get a little chuckle on the fact that I did one. It's not a big deal. It only really takes, you know, maybe 20 or 30 minutes to do one of these. So it's not that I don't want to do it. I know I've been accused of, oh, you're lazy, you don't want to do it. It's not, nothing to do with that. It has to do with practicality. Things work or don't work, and that's why I don't do them. But I did it here, so now I'm ready to put the liner in. That is a finished pan. They're no different than what you saw on the previous video. It's the same screeding process, same leveling process, although I usually have my final pan a lot more than 1/4 inch per foot. That generally doesn't cut it as far as water flow once the tile's on the top of it. And then the back end is also sloped. And that's it. This will have about minimum of 2 days, probably more like 3 days, dry time with a fan on it, before I ever set tile on it at all. The wallboard will go up next. That needs to be mudded. That needs to dry. The red guarding process has to happen. So there's a lot more that can be done incrementally as I go along. But this will set up 1, 2, 3, at least 3 days before I put the floor tile, after the wallboard and the red guarding is done and everything. I probably won't use red guard, but regardless, waterproofing must be done before any tile is put on. This is a finished product. A lot of sun coming through the window. I don't know how well you can see it. So this is before and after basically. I didn't really show any of the process because there's not a lot to show. It was, if you remember the first part, they had some water penetration into their baseboard. So they wanted it redone, and it was a fiberglass pan with the drain in the corner, and now it's not. I wanted to put it center, but the plumbing didn't allow me to for a lot of reasons I won't go into because I'll bore you to death. But it's offset as it would be with a tub to shower conversion. And having a niche with a hexagon tile in it, bull-nosed tile around, bull-nosed tile up the side with the 45 at the top on both sides with the contiguous curved tops that I like. That is not marble, that's like a faux type of marble. Slanted in, and yeah. So it is finished. The grout's still a little dark because it just got through getting grouted. The old shower fixture got used again, so it's done. So getting back to what I said about doing the pre-slope on this one, totally not necessary. If water, which it won't, if water, because I have a really good grout here, if water gets into my shower pan material, meaning my tile, if water gets into the grout line, it's going to hit the very thin layer of thin set, and then it's going to hit the red guard. And then there's silicone around the drain area where that meets up. So, by the way, I always taper off my drain pieces so that I have positive water flow going into the drain. Anyway, getting back to what I said before I so rudely interrupted myself, the pre-slope is below here and absolutely 100% not needed. That's about it. That's all I can say for this one. This is done. This is in the bag. It's over, finito, finished, and I am moving on to the next one where I will show you that new drain that I was telling you about, which is why I did the pre-slope here prior to me knowing I couldn't do the plumbing with that particular drain, which I think a lot of you are going to like. It's a great invention. So I'm going to show that probably on the next video, and we'll be able to use that. But but I have to do a pre-slope in order to use that drain. So, and that's the only reason I ended up doing one on here. And that's it. I am out of here. Hey, if you enjoyed that video and you learned something, consider being a Patreon member. $5, $10, $15 a month would help me greatly produce more videos. I make nothing from YouTube at all. If you're going to call me for advice, please donate $50 for 30 minutes. My link to my PayPal and my Patreon account is down below. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell so you get immediate notifications as soon as I post videos. And thank you very much for your support.